They think agreements are made in ink. They think promises are signed on paper, filed away in drawers, forgotten under the weight of time. But this was never ink. This was never paper. This was carved into something far deeper. It was signed in blood, not the kind you spill accidentally, but the kind that drips slow, deliberate, each drop a vow. I remember the moment clearly, not because it was beautiful. No, beauty had nothing to do with it. I remember it because in that moment, something ended and something else began. A life was buried and something colder, hungrier, more patient rose in its place. The pen wasn't metal, it was bone. The contract wasn't a page, it was my skin. And every word wasn't written, it was carved. That's why it will never fade. People love to talk about moving on. They'll pat your shoulder, look you in the eyes, and tell you it's healthier to let go. They'll say forgiveness is strength, as if absolving the guilty is some sort of divine achievement. But they don't know what it's like to stand in the wreckage they left you in. They don't know what it's like to look at the faces that smiled while they destroyed you. They don't know the difference between mercy and surrender. And me, I have no interest in surrender. This oath wasn't made in a moment of rage. That's the mistake they'll make when they tell the story later. They'll say, he was blinded by anger, or she acted in the heat of the moment. No, this was not heat. This was ice. This oath was made in the quiet after the storm, in the stillness where you can hear every thought, every heartbeat, every plan. It was made when the rage had cooled into something sharper, something permanent. You see, there's a difference between a promise and an oath. A promise is spoken for the sake of someone else. An oath is made for yourself. When you sign something in blood, it doesn't wash away. It doesn't fade in the sun. It doesn't crumble in the rain. It stays. It waits. It lives under your skin until the day comes when you make good on it. That day is coming. They think time is on their side. They think the longer they hide, the safer they are. They don't understand. Time doesn't weaken this. Time makes it stronger. Every day is another drop in the reservoir. Every sleepless night is another mark in the ledger. Every breath I take in their absence is another moment sharpening the blade. The ink was never black. It was always red, and it's still wet. When I say, signed in blood, I don't just mean mine. No, this oath has fingerprints on it, some belonging to those who stood with me once, some belonging to those who will fall with them later, and the rest are theirs. Because when they did what they did, they didn't just write me into this oath. They signed their own names under it, and a signature is a binding thing. Whether they remember signing or not doesn't matter. I've replayed that moment of signing in my head countless times, not out of obsession, but precision. The memory keeps me exact. It keeps the story straight. It makes sure that when the time comes, there's no hesitation, no mercy born from forgetfulness. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. They're wrong. Revenge is a dish best served accurate. And here's the part they'll never understand. The blood wasn't spilled in violence that day. No, it was given. Willingly. Like currency. It was the down payment on a debt I intend to collect in full. That's why they can't undo it. You can't return blood once it's left the vein. You can't unwrite a vow once it's been carved into you. You can't escape something that's part of you now. So when I say I'm back, it's not a threat. It's an inevitability. I was gone because the work wasn't ready. I was silent because the pieces weren't in place. I was patient because I wanted it perfect. Now the silence is over. Now the pieces fit. Now the work is complete. And when I move, I won't move in anger. I'll move in fulfillment. Because this isn't about rage anymore. Rage burns too hot and too fast. This is about completion, about finishing the thing that began the moment the first drop of blood hit the ground. They think this is the beginning of my return. No, This is the end of their escape. The ink was never black. It was always red. And I'm here to collect. Debts are strange things. Some are paid in money. Some are paid in favors. And some are paid in blood. You can tell a lot about a person by the way they handle what they owe. The honest ones pay quickly. The clever ones negotiate. But the arrogant ones, they pretend the debt doesn't exist. They smile at you as if the slate is clean, as if the damage they did was a ghost that disappeared the moment they turned their back. That's the kind of people I'm dealing with. They didn't just take from me. They ripped something out and left nothing in its place. Some debts are clean. A transaction gone wrong, a deal soared. This wasn't that. This was personal. This was calculated. This was them looking me in the eyes, knowing exactly what it would cost me, and doing it anyway. And when it was done, they walked away. No apology, no shame, no acknowledgement of the destruction they left behind. They carried on with their lives, laughed over drinks, built their fortunes, and told themselves that the worst was over, but I never signed their pardon. You see, the thing about debts is they don't vanish just because time passes. They don't dissolve because the guilty decide they're done with it. A debt is a weight, and whether they know it or not, they've been dragging it behind them every day since. I've been keeping the ledger. Every word they spoke about me behind closed doors. Every piece of what they stole that they still use as if it's theirs. Every opportunity they took from me and handed to themselves. Every single act is inked into my book, and ink like this doesn't fade. They think I've forgotten. That's what cowards do. They mistake silence for amnesia. They think if you don't speak of the wound, the scar must not exist. But I remember. I remember in ways they couldn't imagine. I remember in ways they wouldn't survive if they carried them. I remember the way the air felt when I realized what they'd done. The weight in my chest when the betrayal settled in like a stone. The look in their eyes when they lied to me without blinking. And I remember something else. I remember deciding, right then, that the debt would be paid. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually. That's what they never counted on. The patience. Revenge isn't served hot. That's the meal of amateurs. Hot is messy. Hot is impulsive. Hot leaves evidence. Cold is clean. Cold is calculated. Cold waits until the target has convinced themselves they're safe. Until the sound of your name no longer tightens their chest, and then it arrives. And that's exactly what I've been doing, waiting, watching, letting them think the storm passed, letting them believe they were clever enough to escape it. It's funny, really. Some of them even look me in the eye now, smile, shake my hand, as if we're on equal ground, as if the past was buried. It's not buried. It's just under a thin layer of dirt. I keep their names close. I keep their faces sharper in my mind than any photograph could capture. And I keep a tally, not of the harm they caused, but of the payment they owe. This isn't about anger anymore. Anger fades. This is about balance. About restoring the scale they tipped so recklessly. About showing them that debts written in blood are not erased by pretending they never existed. They thought I'd forget. They thought life would distract me. They thought enough new days would pile up to bury the old ones. But what they didn't understand, what they still don't, is that every day that passed didn't erase the debt. It compounded it. Interest builds over time, and theirs has been running for years. Some debts can be paid in one clean strike. Not this one. This is the kind that requires precision. This is the kind where each piece of what they owe is taken back slowly, deliberately. Not to drag it out for my own satisfaction, though I won't deny the satisfaction is there, but to make sure they feel every moment of it. They took without hesitation. They'll pay with every breath. When the first payment comes due, it won't look like revenge. Not at first. It will be small, a door that closes for them, a deal that slips through their fingers, an ally who suddenly won't return their calls. They won't know where it came from. They won't suspect me yet, but the second payment will be heavier, and the third heavier still, until one day they look around and realize they're not standing in the same world they built for themselves. They'll realize the walls have been closing in, and by the time they understand who's behind it, it will be too late to run. That's the thing about this kind of debt. It isn't just about repayment. It's about teaching them what it feels like to live with something hanging over your head, to wake every day wondering when the next knock will come, to never know if today is the day the balance comes due in full. I lived with that weight because of them. Now it's their turn. So no, I haven't forgotten. I've been keeping the account open, feeding it, letting it grow. And when I finally close it, it won't be with a signature. It will be with the same thing it was opened with. Blood. There was no headline, no obituary, no moment of silence. When they came for me, they didn't need bullets or knives. They killed me in ways the world doesn't see. Ways polite society never calls murder because there's no body to bury. They erased me with whispers. They carved pieces out of me with lies dressed up as facts. They took my name, held it up to the light, and twisted it until it looked like a stranger's. It's easy to kill someone without touching them when you control the story people hear. The worst part, they smiled while they did it. Not wide grins, no. It was the quiet satisfaction of gardeners pulling up weeds. They thought I was something to remove, something that didn't belong. And when I was gone, the garden would look neater. But weeds have roots, and they never dug deep enough to kill mine. When you've been buried, alive like that, you start to notice things. You see the difference between the people who believe what they're told and the people who never cared to ask if it was true. The latter are worse, because they didn't need proof. They just needed permission to see you as nothing. They gave each other that permission the day they decided my absence would make their world cleaner. They didn't hold a funeral for me, because they wanted to pretend it wasn't a death. They wanted to call it a choice. My choice to step away.
My choice to quit.
They knew better. They knew I didn't walk away. I was pushed. But the beauty of this kind of killing is that it leaves no fingerprints. They could look me in the eye and say they did nothing wrong. And technically, they'd be right. Technically. Do you know what it feels like to lose everything without a single moment of violence? It's worse than bloodshed. Bloodshed is clean, fast, brutal, yes, but honest. This was slow. This was every day. A little more of me disappeared. Every day something I built was taken, repainted, or claimed by someone else. My work, my voice, my presence, until there was nothing left but silence where I used to stand. And in that silence, they celebrated. They thought they'd won. That my absence meant the story was over. That they'd written the last chapter and closed the book for good. But what they didn't realize is that when you strip someone of everything, reputation, name, safety, dignity, you also strip away the fear of losing anything. When you've already lost it all, you stop playing to protect yourself. You start playing to burn the whole thing down. That's what they created in that moment. Not a victim, not a ghost, something else. The version of me they killed was fragile in ways I didn't want to admit. That version still believed people would be fair if you were good enough, still thought truth mattered more than power. That version thought walking away from a fight was the noble thing to do. They killed that version, and they should have buried me deeper, because the one who clawed out of that shallow grave isn't coming back empty-handed. While they were toasting their victory, I was memorizing the map of every hand that pushed me. I was counting the moments. I was learning how they move, how they hide, how they protect themselves. They gave me time, and I used it well. They think revenge is a sprint, quick and violent, but they don't understand patience. They don't understand that real revenge isn't about striking back the moment you're hurt. It's about letting them think they're safe, letting them believe the world has forgotten, letting them grow comfortable again. Because comfort makes people careless. Careless people make mistakes, and mistakes are how the ledger gets paid. If you asked them today, they'd probably tell you I'm gone, not in so many words. They'd dress it up with polite phrases. They'd say I've moved on, or faded away. They'd smile that smug little smile that says they believe their story is the only one any will remember. They're wrong. I haven't moved on. I haven't faded. I've been moving through the dark, tracing every thread back to the hands that pulled it. And the closer I get, the more they're going to feel it. Not all at once, but in pieces, the way they took me apart. That's exactly how I'll take them. Because this wasn't just an ending. It was a transformation. They didn't kill me. They forged me. And when I return, because I am returning, I won't be coming for the version of them that exists now. I'll be coming for the version of them that existed when they thought they were untouchable. That's the one I owe a debt to. And debts, as I've learned, are best collected in full. There are many forms of payment in this world: money, land, titles, jewels. But when the debt is carved into your skin and burned into your soul, there is only one currency worth taking: blood. It's the oldest form of transaction, older than coins, older than kings, older than paper contracts. Blood is pure. Blood is honest. You can't counterfeit it. You can't fake the heat of it when it runs. You can't negotiate its price once the knife is in motion. That's why the oath I swore was never written in ink. Ink fades. Blood stains forever. When they wronged me, they thought they could pay their way out of it. They thought an apology would be enough, or maybe some trinket disguised as compensation. They thought words could replace wounds. They were wrong. Because when you take from a man what can never be replaced, the debt doesn't sit quietly. It grows. It matures like rot under floorboards, spreading in the dark, eating everything in its path. And by the time they notice the smell, it's too late. I learned this revenge is not taken in haste. It's not a burst of rage in the moment. That's amateur work. Real revenge is an economy, a ledger you balance carefully over time. Every offense has a price, and I've been keeping books. I know who spat the first lie. I know who spread it. I know who stood by in silence while the knife went in. I know the ones who laughed when they thought I couldn't hear. Some debts are small, a single drop. Others are oceans, but every drop counts. Every drop has a place in my collection, and I've been patient. Patience is what separates the desperate from the inevitable. The desperate strike too soon, spending all they have on a single swing. The inevitable waits, watching the account grow with interest. Blood accrues interest. Every sleepless night I've had because of them. Every door that closed in my face because of their lies. Every look, every whisper, every smirk they thought I wouldn't notice. It all goes into the ledger. Now that ledger is full, and full ledgers must be settled. Understand this, I'm not talking about slaughter for its own sake. That's chaos, and chaos is blind. I have no interest in spilling blood without purpose. No, my purpose is exact. Every drop must fit the shape of the crime. Every payment must be proportional, not in the eyes of the law, but in the eyes of the one who was wronged. Justice, they call it when a judge does it. Revenge, they call it when I do. But names don't change the fact the balance must be restored. When I say blood, I don't just mean what flows in their veins. I mean their life force, the core of who they are, whatever makes them feel safe, untouchable, whole. Blood is a metaphor for that essence. Sometimes the payment is literal. Sometimes it's the loss of something they love so much it may as well be their blood. Either way, the cost is taken from the heart. Here's the part they'll never understand until it's too late. Blood isn't always taken in one blow. Sometimes it's collected slowly. A cut here, a slice there. Enough to sting, but not enough to kill. You let them walk away thinking they're fine, until they realize they've been bleeding the whole time. And by the time they do, they're too weak to stop it. I've spent years sharpening this economy, watching how people react to fear, measuring how long it takes for the dread to sink in, testing how much I can take before they break, and how much more I can take after that. Because here's the truth. Fear is the first payment. Blood is the last. When I return, I won't take everything at once. That would be merciful. I'll take it in installments. Enough to remind them they owe me. Enough to make them realize the debt will never really be paid. Enough to make them live with the knowledge that I can come back any time and collect again. This is the beauty of blood as currency. It is renewable if you're cruel enough. They will say I am obsessed, that I should let it go, that I should move on. But moving on is for people who've been paid. I haven't been paid, and until the ledger is balanced, there is no moving on. Some debts are so deep, so carved into the bone, that they demand more than a one-time payment. They demand a lifetime of interest. They demand to be collected over and over, until the one who owes has nothing left but the hollow shell of the person they were before.
That's not obsession.
That's accounting. So when I come to collect, it won't be a surprise. Oh, they'll act surprised, yes. Wide eyes, trembling hands, the predictable plea for mercy. But deep down, they'll know. They've known all along. They'll remember the day they signed the contract in my blood. They'll remember the exact moment they became my debtor. And they'll know, no matter how far they've run, no matter how many years have passed, I was always coming back. Because the thing about blood, it never really dries. By the time this is over, they'll understand the economy I've built. They'll understand that you don't walk away from debts like this. You don't buy your way out. You don't talk your way out. You pay in full, and in the only currency that matters, blood. They will expect me to return the same way I left. That's their mistake. They think they know the shape of me. They think they remember my voice, my face, the way I once moved through a room. They've kept me frozen in their minds, a snapshot of the one they betrayed, the one they buried, the one they thought would stay gone. But the person they knew, he died the moment they signed my name in the book of their sins. And I didn't come back to relive him. I came back to replace him. Time away changes a person, but exile, that transforms you. Exile strips away everything that isn't essential, every weakness, every hesitation, every misplaced loyalty. You start as flesh and bone, but the world pounds at you until you're sharpened steel. When I went under, I took with me all the versions of myself they had touched. The naive one, the forgiving one, the one who thought that survival meant staying quiet. And I buried them deep. In their place, I built something leaner, colder, more deliberate. I didn't return to prove them wrong. I returned to prove myself right, that nothing they built could destroy me. If they're expecting anger, if they'll be disappointed, if they're expecting shouting, they'll be confused. Because anger is quick, it burns hot and dies fast. I am not here to burn out. I am here to endure. I came back not with rage, but with clarity. I know who I am now. I know what they did. And I know exactly what I intend to do about it. The first thing they'll notice is the eyes. They'll search for the old softness, the way they used to find room in me to wedge their lies. But softness doesn't survive the places I've been. My eyes aren't a doorway anymore. They're a locked vault. And the only thing inside is the weight of what's coming. Then they'll notice my silence. I won't give them the satisfaction of knowing when, where, or how I'll move. They'll fill the space with their own fears, their own memories, their own guilt. My silence will be the first strike, a wound that festers before I even touch them. And if they're hoping for the man they once manipulated, they'll see too late that he's gone. The return is not a homecoming. It's an invasion. I didn't walk back into their world to be welcomed. I came back to claim territory they thought was theirs. The truth, the narrative, the control. Every step I take will erase the version of the story they've been telling. They will try to test me. Old tricks, old games. The little hooks they used to keep me in place. But I have no hooks now. Nothing for them to grip. The threads they used to pull are gone, burned, and scattered. They will realize too late that they cannot move me, because I no longer stand where they think I do. That's the cruelest thing about returning changed. They can't even find you to fight you. I have no interest in the shallow victories they expect. They think I want an apology, a headline, a moment in the sun where they admit they were wrong. That's nothing. That's theater for the crowd. I'm not here for theater. I'm here for balance. Balance means taking back what was stolen. It means turning the weight of every wrong back on the shoulders that dropped it on me. It means ensuring that every shadow they cast now belongs to me. The difference between the me they knew and the me that stands here now is simple. Before, I reacted. Now, I dictate. Before, I stumbled into their traps. Now I lay my own. Before, I believed in lines I wouldn't cross. Now, I've learned that the only lines worth keeping are the ones I draw in their blood. And make no mistake, I have returned with patience. The kind of patience that rattles people more than any sudden attack. I will not rush. I will not give them a date, a time, a warning. They will see me in the places they thought I'd never walk again. They will hear my name in conversations they aren't supposed to overhear. They will sense me just out of sight, and it will gnaw at them like a fever. This return is not the storm that tears the house apart in one night. It is the slow rot in the beams, the whisper in the walls, the chill in the air that doesn't leave. By the time they realize what I've become, it will be too late for them to prepare, too late to fortify, too late to hide, because I'm not coming back into their lives as they remember me. I'm coming back as the thing they hoped would never exist, the one shaped entirely by their betrayal, bound by an oath written in my own blood and unshakable in purpose. They had their chance to deal with me when I was breakable. Now, I've returned unbreakable, and I did not come back to forgive. I came back to finish. It begins quietly, not with gunfire, not with broken glass, not with the sudden snap of a trap shutting. Hunting season begins with stillness, the kind of stillness that fools the prey into thinking they're safe. That's the beauty of it. They don't even know it started. They think their sins have aged. That time has blunted the edge of what they did. They believe distance protects them, that years and miles have buried their crimes deep enough to be forgotten. But there's a flaw in their thinking. They forget that memory is patient, and I am patient too. A hunt isn't chaos. It's not a sprint. It's a ritual. You start by knowing your terrain. You learn the patterns, the movements, the habits of those you're after. You watch without being seen. You wait without being rushed. You study them the way a surgeon studies anatomy before making the first cut. The difference between an amateur and a true predator is this: the amateur goes in hungry, desperate to strike. The predator starves himself until the exact right moment, because the kill means nothing if it's sloppy. I've been watching them for a long time. Some are easy to track. They still walk the same streets, haunt the same bars, hide in the same places they did before. Others, they've gone to ground, vanished into new lives, built themselves new names and new lies to match. But they can't outrun their habits. People never do. They always leave something behind. A trail, a smell, a mark. It might be a friend who still speaks to them, a place they can't resist visiting, or a habit they've never been able to break. And I only need one. Just one opening. Not all prey is equal. Some will be taken first, not because they're easiest, but because their fall will send a message to the rest. I want the others to know it's begun. I want them to feel the ground shake before I even reach their door. Fear works best when it's shared, when it spreads like smoke through the cracks in the walls, when they start warning each other and realize there's nothing they can do. I don't just hunt the body, I hunt the mind first. I make them feel watched before they ever see me. I leave traces they can't quite confirm, a name carved where they'll find it, a sound they can't explain in the middle of the night, a letter with no return address and no signature. The idea isn't to attack immediately. The idea is to make them wish I would, so the waiting will end. That's the cruelty of the hunt. The prey doesn't know when the claws will close. Every shadow becomes suspicious. Every noise makes their skin crawl. Every moment alone feels like the last. Some will crack early. They'll start making mistakes, changing their routines, burning bridges, running from people who might help them. They'll trip over their own fear. When they fall apart on their own, all I have to do is be there to catch the pieces. Others, they'll stay stubborn, pretending they're not afraid. These ones take longer, but they're the sweetest. The more confident they are, the harder the impact when they finally see me standing there. You see, the hunt isn't about speed. It's about inevitability. I don't need to be fast. I just need to be certain. Every step I take toward them is deliberate. Every move I make is another thread in the net. They won't see it until they're tangled in it, thrashing, realizing the more they fight, the tighter it pulls. And I'll be there, just out of reach, watching them burn their energy trying to get away. There's a moment in every hunt, a shift in the air, when the prey realizes it's not alone anymore. They may not see me, but they feel me. That's when their world gets smaller. They stop going out at night. They avoid dark hallways. They sleep with lights on. They check locks twice, then 3 times, then again before lying down. And still, the feeling doesn't leave. The most dangerous thing about hunting isn't the strike. It's the patience before it. That's where most fail. They lunge too soon, they break cover too early, and the prey gets away.
But me?
I'll sit in the dark for as long as it takes. I'll wait through the seasons. I'll wait until their own thoughts become my accomplice. I'll wait until they're begging for the end. Because when they ask for it, that's when I give it to them. They will learn that revenge isn't a burst of rage. It's a slow, calculated reclamation of power. It's not about matching the hurt they caused me. It's about making sure they never forget why it's happening. The hunt is more than justice, it's education. By the time I'm done, they'll understand that the blood in the title wasn't metaphor. It was the contract we signed, them with their betrayal, me with my promise to come back. And now, hunting season is open. You don't just walk into the room and pull the trigger. That's the mistake of amateurs. They rush in, blind with rage, eager for the explosion, the chaos, the messy satisfaction of the moment. They think revenge is about speed. It's not. Revenge is about weight. The heavier it is when it lands, the deeper it cuts. And the way to make it heavy is to let them feel it coming. That's why I always send the message first. Not a letter, not a call. Nothing so obvious, nothing they can frame, nothing they can wave in someone else's face for protection. No, the message comes in ways they can't trace, but can't ignore. It might be a shadow in a place they thought was safe, a sound outside the window when they know no one's there, a conversation they overhear about them, but can't find the source of. It's subtle, it's patient, it's personal. You see, fear doesn't work when it's quick. Fear thrives in the wait. You make them wait. Let them feel the air change in their own home. Let them catch themselves locking doors they never used to lock. Let them start double, checking the locks, then triple, checking. Because once the waiting starts, it becomes the punishment. The human mind can survive almost anything when it's happening, but it breaks under what might happen. That's the point. When they sit in the dark, every creak in the walls will sound like my footsteps. Every flicker of light will look like my shadow. Every stranger's face will blur into mine. And here's the truth. I don't even have to be near them yet. I could be miles away. But their own thoughts will work harder for me than I ever could. A proper message before the strike is not a warning. Warnings are for cowards who still hope to be stopped. No, my message says something different. It's already decided.
I'm coming. You just don't know when.
That's not a warning. That's a sentence being carried out in slow motion. It's amazing what people will do when they think their time is short. Some will scramble to hide what they've done, burning evidence, erasing files, deleting conversations. But in the rush, they make mistakes. They expose themselves. They lead me straight to what I need. Some will try to run, but running makes them careless. Panic makes them sloppy. And sloppy is when they fall right into my hands. And some will try to pretend they're not afraid. They'll walk around like nothing's wrong, smile too wide, speak too loud, laugh too much. But their eyes will give them away every single time. The message also serves another purpose. It gives them time to remember people like them. The ones who think they've gotten away with it. They build walls in their minds. They convince themselves they're innocent, that what they did wasn't so bad. That time has wiped the slate clean. But when the message comes, those walls crack. They start replaying everything. The words they said, the things they took, the moments they turned their back when they could have helped. And with every replay, they realize something terrible. I know it all. By the time I arrive, I don't have to tell them what they did. They'll have told themselves 1,000 times already. And that's better than anything I could say. Because when guilt comes from within, it never stops echoing. I also want them to know it's me. That's the difference between revenge and chaos. Chaos is faceless, random. Revenge is personal. It has a name, a reason, a signature. When they think about who's coming for them, I want them to see my face. I want them to know exactly whose shadow is growing on their wall. I want them to understand that every hour of fear they've endured is not some accident of fate. It's me, deliberately pressing the knife without even touching them. Some people would call that cruelty. I call it balance. When they hurt me, they didn't just take something in the moment. They planted something that grew over time. The damage didn't end when they walked away. It followed me. It sat with me. It whispered in the dark. So now I give them the same. The message before the strike is their whisper in the dark, their growing shadow,
Their long night.
and the beauty of it. Even if I never touch them, they'll never be the same. That's the thing about fear. Once it gets under the skin, it stays. It makes a home in the nerves, in the heartbeat, in the shallow breaths they take when they think someone's watching. Even if I were to vanish right now, they'd still be glancing over their shoulder for years. That's the kind of scar you can't see. But I won't vanish, because the message is only the first act. The second is the silence, the quiet days, the lull, when they start to wonder if maybe it's over, when they start to believe the threat has passed, that maybe they imagined it all. That's when I arrive. By then, they're fragile. They've worn themselves thin with sleepless nights, constant alertness, and the weight of guilt they've been carrying since the first sign I was back. Their nerves are raw, their guard is uneven, and when the moment comes, they won't fight, not because they don't want to, but because they can't. I'll have taken the fight from them long before I even stepped into the room. That's the real purpose of the message before the strike. It's not to prepare them. It's to dismantle them. So when I do stand in front of them, they'll know exactly why I'm there, and they'll know there's nothing they can do to stop it. Mercy is for those who forget. I do not forget. Mercy is for those who forgive. I do not forgive. Mercy is for those who want to close the book and pretend the story is over. But my book was signed in blood, and blood has no eraser. They'll expect me to hesitate. That's the first thing. They'll expect me to pause at the last second, to hear their pleas and falter. They'll expect me to let them speak their side of the story, to beg for my understanding, to try and twist my anger into pity. I've imagined it already. The shaking voices, the trembling hands, the desperate eyes. I've played that scene in my head enough times to know exactly how it will go. And I've also imagined how I will respond with nothing. Not a word, not a breath of sympathy, not even the flicker of doubt. Mercy is not justice. Mercy is charity for the guilty. And I've spent too many years in the dark to hand out charity to the ones who pushed me there. You see, the ledger is not symbolic. It's not a metaphor for my feelings. It's real. Every page is filled. Every line is inked with names and deeds and dates. Every entry is a debt carved deep enough that even time can't smooth it away. And when the ledger says paid, it will not mean forgiven. It will mean balanced. Some of them will cry when I find them. Some will try to buy their way out. Some will try to act as though we're old friends, and all of this is a misunderstanding. I know every trick. I've seen every performance. I've heard every line before, and yet they'll still think I can be swayed, because deep down, they believe everyone wants to be merciful. That's the lie they tell themselves to sleep at night. That's the lie that will get them caught. When I was gone, I learned a truth most people can't stomach. Mercy is often just fear in disguise. People show mercy not because they're noble, but because they're afraid of what happens if they don't. Afraid of consequences. Afraid of how they'll be seen. Afraid of crossing a line they can't step back over. I've stepped over. I've burned the line. And I have no fear left. No mercy means no bargaining. No mercy means no delays. No mercy means that the punishment fits the crime. And the crime is written exactly as it happened. No edits, no softening, no forgetting. They will experience exactly what they gave me, and then some. Not because I am cruel without reason, but because I am precise. They might tell you revenge is about rage, but that's a lie too. Rage burns too hot, too fast. Rage makes you sloppy. Rage is loud and messy and leaves loose ends. What I feel is colder. What I feel is steady. It's the difference between swinging a rusted blade and placing a scalpel exactly where it needs to go. Mercy blunts the scalpel. I keep mine sharp. I know the world will talk. The world always talks. They'll call me heartless. They'll call me obsessive. They'll say I'm no better than the ones I've come for. I've heard it all before. And you know what? It doesn't matter. Because when I was the one lying in the dirt, when I was the one stripped of everything, when I was the one drowning in the silence they left me in, not one of those voices came to my aid. Not one of them cared. Not one of them whispered mercy for me. So why should I waste it on the guilty? Here's the truth: mercy is a gift, and gifts are for the deserving. Not one name in my ledger has earned it. Not one soul has shown even the faintest glimmer of regret without a selfish motive hiding behind it. Not one has tried to repair what they broke without hoping it would save them from what's coming. There's a purity in following the ledger without deviation. No personal favors, no old loyalties, no just this once exceptions. When you live by the ledger, you understand that everyone's crime weighs exactly as much as it weighed the day it was committed. Time doesn't lighten it. Tears don't dissolve it. They might think that's harsh. They might call it inhuman. But what's more inhuman? Holding someone accountable for the harm they've caused, or letting them roam free because they can fake remorse well enough to fool you. I'm not here to play judge and jury. I'm here to be the collection agency. And in my world, the bill always comes due. When I arrive, they'll know. The room will change. The air will thicken. They'll feel the weight in their chest before they even see my face. That's not drama. That's recognition. Somewhere in their bones, they've been expecting this day. Some of them have been dreading it for years. Some have been convincing themselves it would never come. But every single one of them will understand the moment they see me. The ledger has no mercy, and that's the most important part. Because if you give mercy once, even to one name, you open the door for doubt. You let the rest believe they can sway you too. One exception is all it takes for the whole system to rot. Not mine. When the ledger is done, it will close with every line marked as paid. That's not forgiveness. That's not reconciliation. That's simply the end of the transaction. And when the final name is crossed out, the silence that follows will not be peace. It will be the kind of silence you only get when there is nothing left to take. No mercy. Not now. Not ever. Because if mercy was going to be part of this story, they should have thought of that before they signed my name in their own blood. Every ledger has an ending. Every debt, no matter how long it's been ignored, eventually comes due. This is that moment, not the warning, not the shadow creeping along the wall, not the whispers in the hallway. This is the knock at the door. For years, I let the balance grow. Not because I'd forgotten, no, I never forgot, but because I wanted it to hurt more when the payment was finally taken. The longer a debt sits, the heavier it becomes, and I wanted them to feel the weight of it, pressing down on their chests every time they thought of me. They thought they were safe. They thought time would wash their crimes clean, that distance would dissolve the stain. But time doesn't erase blood, it sets it deeper. The stain becomes permanent. And now, I'm here to collect. Collection isn't chaos. It's not rage. It's not the flailing violence of someone acting in the heat of the moment. Collection is deliberate. It's planned. It's a process. And every part of that process has meaning. When I take something from them, it's not random. It's tailored to the shape of what they took from me. The method fits the crime. The weight matches the wound. I don't just want them to pay. I want them to understand the payment. For some, that means losing what they value most. For others, it's stripping away the lies they've wrapped themselves in. And for the ones who love power, it means putting them in a place where even their own voice can't save them. It's not about taking everything. That would be too quick, too clean. I take just enough so that every day they wake up, they feel the gap where something used to be, something they can never get back. The first part of the collection is always silence. I don't tell them when it's coming. I don't storm in like a thief in the night. That's too merciful. I let them notice the cracks first, the phone calls that go unanswered, the deals that suddenly fall through, the friends who stop returning their smiles. At first, they think it's coincidence, bad luck. Then, slowly, they realize this is not chance. By the time I step into the room, they've already felt the noose tighten. They've already rehearsed the apologies they'll never get to use. They've already imagined what I'll do. And in some ways, their imagination is worse than anything I could invent. That's the beauty of collection. It's not just the act, it's the build-up. When the final moment arrives, I don't waste words. Words are for warnings, and we passed that point long ago. I let the silence speak first. Let them feel the emptiness in it. Let them realize that this is not a negotiation, not a plea, not a second chance. Then, when the silence is heavy enough to crush them, I make the move. Sometimes it's as simple as taking back what's mine. Sometimes it's as intricate as dismantling the world they built for themselves. But it always ends the same way, with them standing in the ruins, knowing they put themselves there. Because that's the difference between revenge and the final collection. Revenge wants them to know you hurt them. Collection makes them understand why. There's a ritual to it, a balance that has to be maintained. I don't take more than what was owed, but I never take less. That's the part that will haunt them. The precision. The knowledge that every step, every strike, every loss was measured, calculated, exact. They can't dismiss it as madness or chance. They have to face the truth. This was inevitable. When it's over, I don't linger. I don't wait for gratitude or forgiveness. I don't stand around to watch the collapse in slow motion. I take what I came for, and I leave them in the echo of what's missing. Some will rebuild, but never the same. Some will spend the rest of their lives trying to replace what was taken, never realizing it's gone for good. And some will simply stop. Stop trying. Stop moving. Stop existing in any way that matters. I won't be there to see it. I don't need to be. The work is done. The account is closed. But here's the part they'll never be able to escape. Even though the debt is paid, the blood remains. The mark of it, the taste of it, the memory of it, those things don't wash away. It's in them now, the same way it's in me. And they'll know, for the rest of their lives, that when I signed my name in blood, I meant it. The final act of revenge is never the strike. It's the silence that follows. See, people think the end comes with screaming, with chaos, with the raw noise of desperation. They think when the ledger is settled and the debt is paid, everything's stopped. But I've learned, the most haunting endings don't announce themselves. They arrive quietly, sit beside you, and refuse to leave. When I'm done, you won't hear the roar of victory. You'll hear the absence of my voice, and you'll know what that means. Because my revenge doesn't live in the moment it happens. It lives in the aftermath. I'm not here to end you in some instant of glorious drama. No, I'm here to build something that lasts longer than your heartbeat. A wound that doesn't close. A shadow that follows you even when the lights are brightest. The strike is just the punctuation mark. The real story begins after. When you wake up in the dead of night and feel the weight of the air pressing down on you, that's me. When a sudden sound makes your pulse leap and you swear you've heard it before, that's me. When you see a face in the crowd that looks familiar and your stomach twists before you even realize why, that's me. Because when the curtain drops, I don't walk off the stage. I remain in the theater. I haunt it. Here's the thing about an oath signed in blood. It's not a contract with an expiration date. It's not something you shake hands on and forget. It's not bound by law or distance or time. It's carved into the skin. It's etched into the memory. It breathes with you. And as long as I breathe, the oath stands. Even now, you're probably hoping this is the end. Hoping that when I disappear into the dark, you'll never see me again. Hoping this was my one act, my single shot. It's not. The blood oath doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't care about closure or moving on. This is not something I put down when I'm tired. This is not a chapter that ends because you've decided you've had enough. This is forever. That's the part you don't understand about me. When I made that vow, when I dipped the pen in my own blood and wrote your name into my ledger, I didn't make it for show. I didn't make it in a moment of rage that would fade with time. I made it knowing that if it took years, decades even, I would still come. I made it knowing that I would outlast your patience, your hope, your will. You thought this was about punishing you for what you did. It's not. It's about making sure the shadow of it never leaves you. You'll try to rebuild. I expect that. You'll put on the mask of the survivor. Tell yourself you've endured, that you've beaten me simply by living. And maybe, for a while, you'll even believe it. But you'll never truly escape it. Because my revenge isn't about destroying what you have. It's about destroying the illusion that you're safe. And I will always return to test that illusion. Not every day, not every year, maybe not even in the next decade. But one night, when you've convinced yourself the past is dead, when you've stopped looking over your shoulder, I'll be there. Not as a ghost, as a reminder. A reminder that some debts are never cleared. A reminder that blood, once spilled, doesn't evaporate, it stains. A reminder that when I said forever, I meant it. People think revenge is about balance, that it's about making the scales even again. But I've never cared for balance. Balance means equality. Equality means peace. And peace is not what I came for. No, I came for permanence. I came to carve something into the world that no time, no prayer, no forgiveness could erase. My goal isn't to even the score. It's to make sure the score is remembered long after both of us are gone. And if you think my absence means mercy, you're still not listening. Mercy would mean I've chosen to stop, but I don't stop. Sometimes I leave simply so the silence can work for me, so the quiet can stretch, pulling your nerves tighter every day, until even the smallest sound feels like a warning. I don't need to act constantly to control you. I just need you to know that at any time I can. That's what forever means. It means the story never ends. It means the curtain drops, the audience leaves, the theater empties, but the stage stays set, and I'm still here, waiting for the next cue. It means the pen is still wet with blood, and your name is still at the top of the list. It means this vow is not a memory. It's alive, pulsing, as real as the moment I made it. You'll see me again. Maybe not in the place you expect. Maybe not in the form you remember. But you'll know it's me. You'll feel it before you see it. In the way the air changes. In the way the room feels smaller. In the way your heartbeat skips. And in that moment, you'll remember this. The ink was never black. It was always red. And red never fades. That's the truth you'll live with long after tonight. The oath doesn't end with my satisfaction. It doesn't end with your suffering. It doesn't end with the blood that's already been spilled. It ends when I say it ends. And I haven't said it yet. So live your life. Smile for the world. Pretend you're free. But remember, every shadow you see might be mine. Every whisper you hear might be my voice. Every quiet moment you get might be the last before I break it. Because this isn't over. It never was. The blood oath stands forever.